The Misadventures of VBS's Clothes, Chapter 3, Sopping Wet Catfight, written by Skylar Hyro and AO3, read by Hermes. Mission, survive. Or something. Snowball fights looked dangerous from the times Touya had seen them, and unspotting words did not help this perception of them. It wasn't even an organized fight. They were simply returning from practice, crossing through a park when a flurry of white hit Anna in the back of the head, sending her stumbling. What the hell? He thought she might have been hurt for a second before she straightened, whipping around to glare at Akito, who had a shit-eating grin on his face and another snowball. An bent to grab her own ball and pelted it back, running away and throwing those final words at Touya. He had about 2 seconds before the second snowball hit him in the shoulder, and he shivered as the cold seeped through his jackets. Before he could react, Kohane pulled Akito back, dumping a handful of snow down his hoodie and pushing him to the ground.
What the fuck, Kohane?
She sprinted past Touya, giggling, and hid behind a tree as Touya's snowball sailed past. Akito picked himself up and staggered over to Touya. He looked between Akito and An, who was slightly too far to hit, and then backed down at the snowball freezing in his fingers. As Akito came closer, he didn't throw anything, instead opting to just smash the snowball onto Akito's head. Aiming was a lot harder than in arcade games.
What the hell, rude ass?
Akito swiped at his hair in an attempt to get rid of the offending snow. You started it. Then he was sprinting in the opposite direction, the snow slippery and uneven beneath his feet. They traded throws as the sun set, shivering as they slipped and fell, as snow slid down their skin and soaked their clothes. It was freezing, and yet Touya had never felt warmer. "Touya, duck!" An shouted, grinning as she aimed at Akito, who was currently using him as a shield. Duck? He blinked. Where? The snowball hit him square in the face, cold slithering down his neck and into his shirt. Akito doubled over, trying not to fall into a heap on the ground.
Where?
He hiccuped, clutching his stomach and ignoring the second snowball that pelted his side.
Touya.
I didn't even hit you. Why are you on the ground? An jogged over, trying not to laugh at the snow still sliding down a perplexed Touya's face.
Where?
Akito wheezed out, slamming a fist into the snow, shaking with laughter.
Did you fucking hear him? Where?
He said... He couldn't finish, dissolving into soundless gasp of air. Did you kill him, An? Kohane peered over the bush she was huddled behind and was greeted with an interesting sight. Touya, still standing up, muttering to himself as melting snow dripped down from his hair. Akito, kneeling on the ground and looking like he was trying not to explode. And An, bending over to peer at Akito, a grin splitting her face. I didn't mean literally, but okay, she muttered to herself, walking over. Kohane's footsteps crunched loudly behind Touya, signaling her joining them. He turned to her. Duck. To lower the head or the body quickly to avoid a blow or missile, or so as to not be seen. So true, Touya. Kohane gave a thumbs up. Did the snowball give you a concussion, Touya? An stared, wide-eyed. What the fuck are you saying? He grimaced at the ground. You said duck. Yeah, An raised her eyebrows. And you didn't! I thought you meant...
He fucking said where?
Akito rose from the dead. He said, duck, where?
I'm gonna throw up, oh my god.
He leant against Kohane dramatically. An and Kohane took 5 seconds to process this information before Kohane dropped to the ground, taking Akito with her as they dissolved into laughter. An, to her credit, tried very hard to suppress her shaking, instead placing both hands on his shoulders and looking him dead in the eyes. Never change, Touya. Suddenly, he was falling, An dragging him with her as someone tugged her leg out from beneath her. What was that for? An whined, rubbing her arm and kicking at Akito.
For pelting Touya in the face?
Do I mean nothing to you? You started this by hitting me in the face.
I have to defend my partner's honor.
An blinked before slowly turning to Kohane. Kohane, kill. Kohane saluted, then looked at Akito. Akito swallowed.
Kohane, don't kill?
Kohane tackled him. They went rolling down the slope, An's whoops following the two until they came to a stop at the bottom. Why? Was all Touya could say. I'll race you, An grinned, throwing herself down after them. He watched as the An-shaped blur became apparent to the other two, still entangled, helpless to move out of the way as she barreled into them like a bowling ball. He snorted as they collided, all three groaning in pain, and walked normally down the hill. Crouching next to them, he offered no help. You didn't roll, An whined. No, he agreed. I'm not that idiotic. This is coming from the guy who said where in response. He covered her mouth with a hand. No. She shook beneath him, eyes filled with mirth.
Get off.
Akito shoved at An.
We're crushing Kohane, you know.
She leapt off with a gasp, knocking Touya over and into the snow for what felt like the 10th time. I feel like I went swimming. Kohane groaned as Akito managed to remove himself from her. If we went inside, we'd drown someone.
I'm gonna jump into a volcano. Maybe then I'd feel warm,
Akito added. They all shivered at his words as if just registering the code again. An pouted. No, why'd you have to mention it?
You literally can't blame me for this.
I can do whatever I want. Akito shot her a look of disbelief.
You can't?
Why do you hate women? Kohane gasped. Akito, are you a misogynist?
That's the 5th fucking time you guys have said that same joke. Please get new material.
Akito stood up, dislodging snow all over the two girls.
I actually think half of Kamiyama thinks I am.
Well, it's true, isn't it? You hate women, uh-huh.
I like at least 2 women, sadly.
Akito crossed his arms. An snorted. Oh my god, you like us? That's so embarrassing, Akito.
You have 2 seconds to run.
So quirky.
1.
An screeched, sprinting away. An! Kohane giggled.
Why do you think you're safe, Kohane? 2.
Akito swiped playfully at her. She dodged his attack, running after An. Touya reached up a hand in silent question, waiting for Akito to pull him up before looking at him. Are you a misandrist as well? He asked.
I don't know what that means, but I assume you need to start running as well.
That's correct. He turned and fled after the two girls. He caught up after a few seconds, the two having stopped running almost instantly. They let Akito catch up before continuing out of the park. That didn't solve the we're sopping wet right now problem. Kohane sighed. I think it actually got worse. I'm sure you guys left enough clothes at my house the last time we had a sleepover. An hummed as they finally reached the road. Just come over.
Fine by me, but will your dad be fine with it?
Akito directed the last bit to Touya. He shrugged. I'll tell him either I stay with An or ruin his wooden flooring. An pumped her fist. Sleepover, yeah, baby!
We do this once a month. Why are you so excited?
Akito rolled his eyes. But this time it's twice. That's like double sleepover. Kohane shook her head. I'm so glad our math lessons have paid off. Touya smiled internally. Every new experience, camping, Halloween, cross-dressing, snow fights, they were something he could cherish, something he would never forget. And there was no one else he'd rather have beside him.